Hi guys. Um, so I think the way I'm going to approach this is going to be by since I do have a lot of things that I want to talk about. There's a lot of things that interest me from a variety of different fields. I think the best way for me to go about it is I also need to stay honed in, right? I need to keep it focused. I can't just go from topic to topic. That wouldn't be pleasant for you, and it's not something that I want to do. Um, I saw something very recently. One of many that I've seen, over the years. Another OnlyFans model trying to justify her, what she does. And what a sad, disgusting state of the affairs that we live in today. To be honest with you, it just goes to show how delusional the modern woman has become. This sickness, this parasitic sickness that has taken a complete hold over them. It's absolutely, it's so shameful to just see it in their face, to see that they have no understanding that what you're doing is so inherently wrong. What value do you bring to the world other than the value of what you allow men, majority of men, give them a quick release, which is so destructive in so many ways for men, right? What do you provide to the world other than cheapening yourself? After nearly a century of feminism, is this it? I read a statistic a while ago. I might be, slightly off, but a quarter of the female population, nearly a quarter in United States especially, is involved in some sort of um, flesh for cash business. And I'm not strictly talking about prostitution, streaming, and you guys know like some of these streamers like I don't know, Pokimane or whatever, and there's a few others that, it's nothing but ass and tits, and every time the attention starts to wane, you'll see them getting up and make these stupid ass awkward poses just to these thirsty ass simp guys. Oh my brothers, how you have fallen. The things that you're so gullible that you fall for. What value do you provide to the world? You provide no value. But yet I live in a society, we all live in a society that you're rewarded for this. You get rewarded so handsomely. And not all of you. It's the Pareto's principle, right? There's only, like, I would say even less than 20%, maybe 10 or 5% of you that makes actual real money. The rest of you was the average, like $150 a month. Seriously, $150 to $200 a month. You're willing to show your asshole and your tits and your pussy to the world for what? To what end? So after 100 years of feminism, after 100 years of so-called bullshit empowerment, that, oh my god, how much damage has that word done? The level of sublimation behind that word, the level of sublimation behind that word, empowerment. It is such a disgusting, sickening word. What have you done? What have you shown? I mean, the gender jobs that were gender focused has pretty much remained stagnant, almost the same what it was. I've seen the data from, for example, Sweden, supposed to be the most, if not one of the most egalitarian countries in the world, and the jobs they were doing 100 years ago, women, and they're still doing the same jobs today. More or less, the percentages have moved slightly, but that's about it. So what changed? Is this what we call empowerment? You provide no value to the world. You provide nothing. As a matter of fact, you are a gateway drug to Satan. You are a walking sin among this earth. Do you not see? Do you not see that you're just a, a chess piece, the pawn in a grand game, nothing more? That no one actually gives a fuck about your rights or your liberation. That is just another tool, a weapon to be used to destroy civilization and society. Julius Caesar, I believe, said one of the greatest quotes, lines that has ever been said: divide and conquer, right? Men and women today are so divided. They are so extremely divided. And again, this is something I very slightly broached on my last video. Who benefits from this, right? The more we are divided, the much easier we are to conquer and control. And now the division lines, they don't end. They keep multiplying between Muslim, Christian, he, she, trans, non-trans, lesbian, this, that. Like, it just doesn't stop, and you have to ask, to what end, right? To what end? And you know to what end, because you are much more easier to control. I mean, we all live in a world. I myself am guilty of this. Supposedly, we're all so technologically connected to each other, you know, near instant speed, right? Yet, how many of us today, especially among the male population, right, and the female too, are keeping in contact with our families, with our loved ones, as much as we should be? We're not, right? So, what are we doing? No, seriously, guys, I'm asking, like, what are we doing? This goes for myself too. Because, like I said, putting my voice, my face out there is also a learning experience for myself. You're nothing. You as females, you're nothing but a piece on a board game. Nothing more. You are nothing more. You have fell hook, line, and sinker to such lies and such despair. The joke really is on you, yet you're the ones that failing to see it. Sure, there's a few amongst you, law averages though, right? There's a few amongst you on the extreme end of the curve that sees what shambles has befallen you. But again, that's such a small percentage, and it's not enough. We need the rest of you to wake up too. See, men are waking up slowly, surely, but slowly. And the reason why men are waking up is because men don't have choice. Because the world doesn't give a shit about men. The world absolutely gives no fucks about a man. So either he stays, he cannot afford to live in delusion. But you, as the woman, the level of social safety nets and all kinds of other safety nets that's been provided to you, why should you need to have a wake up? See, you're ahead of the line. And when you're all the way ahead of the line, you're not seeing what's happening in the back of the queue. In the back of the queue, where the real pain and suffering is taking place, because you're so far removed in the head, you can't see it. Now, your advantage is you're being comforted and sheltered for a while, but your disadvantage in the long term is the pain you will feel will be much more severe because you are not prepared. When the line, when it eventually gets cut down to there's nobody behind you left to shelter you, and now you're the one that's being exposed, and you have never had a chance to prepare, then what do? You do nothing. Your collapse and your failure will be an epic show, one for the ages for the world to see. And that's what's happening. See, men are in the back of the line. So because men are in the back of the line, they have no choice but to continuously evolve and change and learn and adapt. But you're not. Sure, you have evolved in some other ways, adapted in some other ways. Most of them are very toxic. I guess, well, that's a conversation for another time. But you had a huge hand. You, as the modern female, you had a huge hand in the division and the conquest of our modern civilization, our society today. And I know most of you, well, for you to even feel shame, first you need to understand what the hell it is that you did, or what the hell were you even, privy to. Which is always what gets me to the sad part, because you don't, and you refuse to. I mean, I did mention in my last video about cope. My goodness, the level of copium that the modern woman has, that she brings to the table. If you want to talk about what the modern female brings to the table, it's cope. It's incredible doses of cope. It's sickening. It's disgusting. This has to stop. This has to stop. Now, while it has to stop, us men and women, we have to be the ones. It has to be from the grassroots movement. It's not going to be from the top up anymore. Because Lord knows the ones at the very top, they played their hands and they played it really well. And that's why we're at the situation where we're at today, in state of such a despair. I refuse to believe that I find fault in all of this at 100% level on women. I know what a female nature entails, which is why I don't hate them. In a lot of ways, I do pity them, but I don't hate them, no. Yes, they can be easily manipulated. Yes, they're very gullible. Yes, they're very, the cheerleader effect, they're very prone to it as a sheep. But at the same time, I cannot simply sit here and accept the fact that by nature they're pure evil. Yes, manipulation is part of their nature, but that's because physically, since they are the weaker sex, they have to use any means, all means necessary on all psychological levels, wage warfare against men to get what they want. That's just how evolution works. Now, whether they use that for good or for bad, and right now, obviously, we all know the result of what they're using it for and the results of that. But I refuse to believe it's by nature. I know that this is after 3 generations of conditioning that we got to where we are today. I've seen a study recently, shocking to nobody, obviously. Gen Z women are the most hateful of men today. They hate the men most today. Who could have seen this coming? Definitely must have no outside manipulation or conditioning or, coercing happening. Come on. I mean, even as a female, like, if I was to empathize as one and sit there and say, let me talk to my grandmother, assuming she's alive, and ask her, what is it that we feel this way towards men, but you guys didn't? There's no way it cannot be solely because of the fact that you were not breadwinners too. You were not outside working. Was there something more to it? It seems like there's more to this than the eye lets on, like the brain lets on. So yeah, I mean, but no, they don't even have the decency to do that, to ask their elders, because there was a time when we used to cherish and respect our elders and seek advice from them on many aspects of life. And when it comes to this particular topic, I'm mainly talking about, this is something I tell every woman that I had in my life. Have you ever asked your parents or your grandparents before you began dating a guy about their advice? And 90% of the time, if not even 95, the answer is always no. Again, comes back to what I said in my first video, right? Self-esteem's non-existent, but egos are sky high to make up for the lack of the difference, which is the most saddest thing ever too, once again. But again, I can't bash women fully. There's a lot of blame to put at the feet of my brothers, men. You have allowed this. Yes, you also have been manipulating and you've been coerced. But because we're divided, we're so much easier to conquer and control. We're exactly where they want us to be. And the problem is not going to get solved by pointing fingers and saying this about women and this about men. We have to come together. I don't see any other way. Believe me, and I know how it makes me sound. If the answer was to say, let's punish all women for this and hold them solely responsible for all the crimes, what does that achieve other than it makes us look weak as well? That it makes us, just like the modern female is, have a lack of accountability. Isn't that the same thing? How does this make us any better? How does this get us to be a place of better men? It doesn't. We live in the hardest of times today, which means the strongest of men are either being created, born, or already here. We need to come together. We are too divided. We need to bring back. We need to bring back sense and order to this world. And again, guys, I do apologize. Like I said, I am still, relatively nervous, still relatively obviously new, and there's still blunders happening here and there with each video. Like I said, I will improve. But for now, I will leave this here. Again, I'm just gonna keep uploading videos every 2-3 days. Slowly, I'm hoping to build some attraction. And there's many more topics, and including this topic I'm talking about, that I want to go into way more depth. But again, I only want to do that once I start getting some attraction too, because as I said, I work so much better with feedback. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a good day.